Recording in progress.
Welcome in to the Europa League Match Day 4 episode. I'm your host, Real_G Warner. We're 9-3-1 on our ultimate best bet. What I do is I basically pick my favorite bet from each of the episodes that I cover in the soccer world. We're doing Europa League, and the way to split them up is to have two selections as my possibilities. One from the early slate, one from the later window of matches. Put them all up against one another for a 1-minute YouTube short and a Instagram reel, and then you can grade the podcast. 9-3-1 start. Not sure I can keep that going. I'm going to try to keep it as long as possible, and we'll start where the money is. Just kidding. The Europa League, same money, both directions. Decided this year not to really cover the Europa Conference League. Maybe in the knockout stages, we'll find a little bit more time to do that then. But it's really hard to know what league any of the teams are in the Conference League, as that has changed completely. Europa League, though, did expand, though it's still kept a pretty good talent level, I think. And there's a lot of you that seem to watch this episode. So we'll get into it. If you're not following me on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube, go hit at @thereal_G Warner, wherever your platform is, and betting the pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. If you're looking for a more traditional podcast route, this will probably be about 30 minutes, and then the 1-minute ultimate best bet will be published at @thereal_G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. First matchup we'll look at is the almost mispronounced the first one. It's late night with @thereal_G Warner. As always, the odds I'm sure are coming. But we'll start with Eintracht Frankfurt, a half a goal favorite right now at home to Slavia Prague. Just going to make sure I didn't click first half lines on that one. That is a fairly decent size change from what I was initially looking at. Wow. Yeah, I guess I'm seeing it correctly. Let's confirm where this number has gone, because that is a big change. All lines are quoted courtesy of BetOnline, SportsBetting.ag, sister sites that will give you some free money if you go sign up first-time deposit and follow the links in the podcast description on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Yes, Eintracht Frankfurt, only a half a goal favorite at home. They were as high as 3/4 a goal, but I guess it's not that big of a difference. But clearly some love for Slavia Prague right now, especially considering how good Eintracht Frankfurt have been so far this season in this competition and also in the German Bundesliga. But with that said, Eintracht Frankfurt, they're an offensive team. Total here is 2 3/4, just all the way to over. Maybe we see this hit 3 before game time. I'll certainly be looking out for that if we can see it. Slavia Prague were very, very good defensively on the road at Athletic Club Bilbao in the last match day of the Europa League. But we're not able to escape with anything, if I remember correctly, from Bilbao. To me, I watched them live in Rome last year against Roma, and after a second-minute goal from Romelu Lukaku, we're very much in that matchup. Very different defense type of style against the Ekitikes and the Olivier Marmouche of the world compared to Lukaku. But certainly you got to be concerned with Eintracht Frankfurt's ability to score. I feel like this number will move back to 3/4 of a goal favorite that we saw earlier in the week. But Slavia Prague are a decent road underdog, especially they travel very well. There are tons of black-shirted people all over Roma while I was there, or Stadio Olimpico, and over Rome, just seeing the sights, it seemed. But should be plenty in Frankfurt for this matchup, not too far from Prague to Frankfurt as well. So give me Slavia Prague. I'm interested in that side at half of a goal. We'll certainly wait to 3/4 for that pause before kickoff. And I'll lean to under 2 3/4, though I'd really like it under 3 if it gets there later. Moving next to Bodo Glimt, hosting Karabakh. Currently, Bodo Glimt, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 3. Juice pretty much all the way to over here as well. Karabakh, who were, I thought, pretty competitive until an early red card, 15 or so minutes into the match against Ajax at home. Then a ridiculous penalty call because as we get lower level, I mean, I complain enough about the higher top level officials in the big 5 European soccer leagues. You certainly get some dentists in this, though I guess they all do work in their regular professions during the weeks and then referee games on the weekend. But Karabakh, I thought were victimized by a really tough red card on a shoulder charge. You could argue that there was some contact with the leg, but that's why VAR didn't overturn it. But if they didn't call a penalty on the pitch, I don't think that would have happened. And unfortunately, as Karabakh were down to 10 men against Ajax, even at home, the second goal kind of broke the camel's back. They ended up taking another red card, so they're missing 2 important players potentially for this matchup. Karabakh certainly not as deep, even as Bodo Glimt. But Bodo Glimt is a big favorite here. They got a late winner on the road at Sport Club Braga. in Portugal last week. They've been really good. They've been pretty popular in these competitions, getting decent respect from the marketplace. I don't think Karabakh are a side I really want to back away from Azerbaijan at this point. And I think going along with that, I think the under 3 is interesting. But Ajax, to me, why I played under 3 in that matchup is I thought Ajax are going to have a lot of value on their unders because they're not the go all out offensive attacking team under a new manager this year. So I'm not sure I see as much value here, though certainly as this climbs to above 3, I'd be more interested. So under 3 is my biggest interest in this one, though it's not a huge lean at this point. Moving next to Olympiacos, they host Rangers from Glasgow in the Piraeus section of Athens. Olympiacos a half a goal favorite with all the juice at home, over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. Now, Rangers got a big result in their last match day, but there'd been a little bit of commentary speaking about how they hadn't been up to expectations, and their manager was under a lot of pressure. But big home win against FCSB, Bucharest side from Romania, was huge for them. But now they go on the road to Athens, and they have to deal with Jose Luis Mendilibar's high line, which has worked very well at Olympiacos. I'm kind of still surprised every time I see him on the sidelines, considering how quickly he was out at a lot of clubs in Spain where he had kind of made his name. But Rangers a half a goal underdog seems a little bit surprising to me, especially because the juice is pointing toward the home team. As this number climbs, the Rangers travel very well. Great crowd support. They definitely get a lot of support in the betting markets as well. So that does make me think it's unlikely this one will keep climbing in the Olympiacos direction, but the lines and the odds and the juice certainly point that direction or point that way. So I'll lean to Rangers getting a half of a goal. And I guess I lean to under 2.5 as it climbs to 2.75 as expected. Though I'm not sure I feel as great about that one. Galatasaray then hosts Tottenham. Currently, Galatasaray in Turkey, a quarter goal favorite right now to Tottenham, which is saying something. Maybe we see some rotation for Tottenham in this matchup, but they are getting healthy. They're getting deep, and they had a big win against Aston Villa this weekend in the English Premier League. Over under here is 3.25, juice more to the over as it should be, because I don't know who's backing Tottenham unders at this point. Galatasaray, of course, in Turkey, they have a really great fan base and have some great players as well. But Tottenham are very strong in the biggest league in all of the world. So give me Tottenham getting a quarter of a goal is my biggest interest in that matchup. Moving next to Nice hosting FC Twente in Scheide, I believe, Dutch club. Nice a 3/4 goal favorite, almost all the juice on Twente on the road. Surprisingly, over under is 2.75. This one juice pretty heavily to under, and it should be. Nice have been scoring a little bit more in this competition than I think anyone would have expected. Got a good win on the road at Stade Brestois, a Champions League competitor from French Ligue 1, though it was a big surprise last season. Still a big win for Nice. Also played very well before that with Monaco. Big question for me is can Nice score efficiently? I don't think they can. FC Twente have been very good at defending. Show that at Manchester United, though, of course, United have struggled with goals this season. I just don't really see a lot of scoring. This one, 2.75 feels way too high. I'm less interested in backing the road underdog here, but I think there's enough here to play under 2.75 in that early matchup, or at least in the early window. Moving next to Union Saint-Gilloise hosting Associazione Sportive de Roma. Currently, Saint-Gilloise a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice all the way to over. So potentially we see some numbers here potentially changing. Union Saint-Gilloise moving. They've been kind of fluctuating back between Pick'em and the quarter goal underdog, but I think Roma are clearly, they hired the wrong manager, maybe sacked the wrong one early in the season. It also lost the CEO's job because of the backlash for an early season sacking. One of the favorite things of NFL players in the United States, but certainly not of a football manager. But Ivan Juric, he's got a strategy and it works well for lower budgeted teams. Now we're trying an experiment with a big club that's got high expectations, and he has not lived up to it. Had a really tough loss to LS Verona this weekend in Serie A, and just really hasn't done much with a team that's been really underachieving, especially in this competition. Union Saint-Gilloise, they're not the same strength club feeder that they had been in the past. Put Boniface as a striker at Bayer Leverkusen and won the Meisterschale in Germany, amongst other great players across the various top European soccer leagues. With that said, I can only lean to Union Saint-Gilloise at this point as a home underdog, and I lean to under 2.25 just because I haven't seen Roma score any goals. It seems like Ivan Juric will not be fired before this match tomorrow, as long as I haven't missed a big news item. And I got to say, I just don't think Roma have looked anywhere near talented enough to score goals with a Juric ball control style. I think that actually probably supports an underplay here, especially as it climbs from 2.25 to more likely till 2.5 before kickoff. I just don't really see much there that I want to get involved with. So lean to the home underdog, and more, I think, lean to the under 2.25 right now, soon to be 2.5, I think, as the line suggests movement upwards. Moving next to FCSB from Bucharest. They are hosting Midtjylland of, I think, Denmark, and FCSB should be an underdog right now. They're a quarter goal underdog at home. Total is 2.5, juice slightly more to under, though not by a lot. FCSB, I thought, had a good start to their Europa League campaign, and they got smacked at Rangers. Not a lot for me to want to do this one. I think I like the idea of backing Midtjylland as an underdog, but they're not one here, especially road favorites are not really my style. Thank you all for coming in. By the way, any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I have that live and available in case anyone has something you'd like me to click in a little bit deeper on. But we'll move to a couple more matches in this early window before I select an 11:45 Central Time, 12:45 Eastern Time, I think 6:45 in Europe. But a best bet from that first section of matches, then get to duel against a best bet from the later section as well, and then make that ultimate best bet 9-3-1 so far this season. Elfsborg, they are a half a goal underdog at home against Sporting Braga, and they are a ton of juice on Elfsborg, so maybe this is falling towards a quarter. Total is 2.75 this matchup, juice a little bit more to over. Sporting Braga have been disappointing, I think, in all conference or in all continental play over the last couple seasons, including that late loss at home to Midtjylland, I think, right before the international break, or maybe that was who was that? I guess I should look it up because I've just forgotten. But Sporting Braga, so the Portuguese clubs have gotten a ton of respect across all competitions. I'll be frank on that one. It was a late loss at home to Bodo Glimt. That's who it was earlier in the show. But at this point, I'm not sure I believe it. And unfortunately, Sporting Braga have been really disappointing across multiple competitions in Champions League in the group with Napoli a couple seasons ago. And then here this league so far in Europa League as well. I think Elfsborg, they showed by beating a Roma team that were kind of stuck, lost in transition between managers, but were very, very competitive on the road to Galatasaray in the last match day as well. I think I have some interest in the home underdog, and that's a lot to play against a big Portuguese road favorite. We'll see if that makes that card later and even makes it into the best bet portion of the show and ultimate best bet, which I've been plugging this whole episode. Last but not least, in this early window, Ludogorets hosts Athletic Club Bilbao. Currently, Ludogorets a 3/4 goal underdog, very juiced at home in Bulgaria. Over under is 2.25, juiced very heavily to under. Now it's a low total, but it should be Ludogorets. Seems like they are under player's dream. Goalless on the road 2 match days ago against Victoria Plzen, and then I think took at least 1 red card, if not 2, in a questionable. But that's another thing about the Europa League refs so far. But under still hit. Ludogorets are not going to score much, and Athletic Club Bilbao have a lot of important things to deal with in La Liga. So it's possible that we might not see as big of a lineup, especially because Nico Williams has seemingly played every minute that I could remember, or at least started the last bunch of games. It's a good opportunity for potentially some rest. If that happens, I'll lean very heavily to under 2.25. It feels like a low price at this point, though, so I think I'll let that go and leave it for potential. See what happens when lineups come out on Thursday afternoon here in Dallas, Texas. For the ultimate best bet portion, I select one favorite play from the early window, one from the late, put them up against each other for the ultimate best bet. I'll go Tottenham getting a 1/4 goal on the road. And they are playing at Galatasaray, speaking of, in Turkey, in Istanbul. To the late window. And if you're not following me on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, please do so at @the_Real_G Warner and Betting the Pitch wherever you get your podcasts. Just recorded the NFL podcast with @A_Schnicker. We're 11-7 so far this season. Had a great 65% run our last 36 best bets. So go check that out. It's on this feed wherever you're getting it. Move next to Ajax hosting Maccabi Tel Aviv. Currently Ajax a 1.5 favorite with almost all the juice on Maccabi Tel Aviv away from home. Though they're not playing any home games in Tel Aviv in this competition. Over-under is 3, just a little bit more to over. And again, I still believe that there is some value on Ajax unders. I'm not sure that Maccabi Tel Aviv are exactly where I want to go for that. They really struggled to keep Real Sociedad out of their net. even though Real Sociedad have been struggling to score goals for 2 years now. But with that said, I think Ajax are going to really keep this a low-scoring match on the Tel Aviv side. I mean, if there's a one team total, I would certainly look to under there, but a half of a goal, very juiced to over, but not enough for me to really be that interested. I just think Ajax are going to play low-scoring games this year, and there's still a lot of expectations for them to be an over club. Moving next to Hoffenheim hosting Olympique Lyonnais, TSG Hoffenheim, a strong German club that's really struggled away from home, but have performed better at home, and kind of a surprise qualifier for Europa League, I got to say. But I guess the German Bundesliga did get extra teams this year based on their performance across all continental competitions last season. But Lyon are the favorite here. It's a pick 'em, but with almost all the juice over, there's 3.25, juice very heavily to under right now. I think Hoffenheim are an over team, as are Lyon. So my underways are not really going to fit here. In terms of the spread in this one, though, I think I'll be waiting to see how much Lyon money comes in, and maybe we can get a quarter of a goal on Hoffenheim. Until that happens, though, I'd pick them. I don't think I want much to do here. Moving next to Lazio, hosting Porto, and a battle of some pretty big name clubs. Porto actually a quarter goal underdog on the road at Lazio, most likely because Lazio have been playing very, very well. And they probably deserve to be a favorite, especially considering Porto's defense has been very questionable. On top of that, Lazio closed an underdog at FC Twente on Shada last match day and got an early red card drawn on Twente, and then were able to take a 2-0 lead and never let it go. I don't think it'll be as simple in this matchup, though. At home at the Stadio Olimpico, a big deal for them. The big question is how can Porto defend here? So I'm actually, I think, most interested in over 2.5 in this matchup. It's certainly against my nature. Joe Dollar's probably jumping. He's probably growing some hair over this at this point, but I got to say, it's not really one of those leans that I generally have, especially with the Portuguese club. But Porto have not been defending at all, and I feel like they've been transitioning into a more aggressive offensive attacking style. Moving next to AZ Alkmaar from the Dutch Eredivisie. They are hosting Fenerbahce from Turkey, and Fenerbahce, a pick'em but favored pick'em right now with all the juice on the Fenerbahce side. Looks like AZ Alkmaar, they've been a quarter of a goal underdog. It looks like we will probably get back there, and that's my biggest interest right now, though, at the current odds at BetOnline. They are a pick'em. Not really sure I have much feel for the total under 2.5, though. It was kind of amazing that Jose Mourinho was able to get Fenerbahce to the under against Manchester United at home that last match day. A lot of chances, a lot of craziness, but ultimately only 2 goals scored. I'm questioning Fenerbahce scoring away from home, so especially if they're a favorite, I would love to back AZ Alkmaar, but I'm still interested in the pick 'em right now, so lean to that plus money as I see it. Plus 110 currently at BetOnline, SportsBetting.ag, sister sites. Moving next to Dynamo Kiev, they're a quarter goal favorite at home, or they're quote-unquote home because they're not playing games in Ukraine in this competition. They're hosting Ferencváros from Budapest in Hungary. Hungaria. Over under is 2.25, juice more to the over here, and I just don't really see it. Ferencváros are a very defensive team, which does make that quarter of goal a little bit scary away from home because you're not expecting them to do much. But Dynamo Kiev just don't look like they're at this competition's level. They're very young, which is typical for Ukrainian sides, but not playing in Ukraine. Having to be a favorite just because you are in a stadium and on a pitch you see more times than Ferencváros will. I feel like there's some value in playing against that. So Ferencváros getting a quarter of a goal, and I lean to under 2.25 as well, as those both, I think, correlate to the low-scoring match I'm expecting. Moving next to Victoria Plzen. Speaking of low-scoring matches, they're a half a goal underdog at home for Real Sociedad. Over under is 2.25. Jesus split both ways in this one. And Victoria Plzen, I mean, they've had incredible late shows. Had a big comeback with 2 goals in stoppage time to draw Eintracht Frankfurt in the opener 3-3. Then saw no goals scored against Ludogorets despite dominating a game, and then had a 2-0 lead, surrendered once they took a red card, gave up 2 goals late, including a 90+3 late stoppage time goal to cost them 3 points, and also cost me my under. Brutal. But at this point, Real Sociedad, as a big road favorite, they just haven't really deserved it. They haven't been able to score goals. I'm not sure a win on the road at Sevilla does too much for that. But maybe they could actually play Takefusa Kubo, and maybe they'll find some goals through him. I'm not sure that his time will be long at Real Sociedad based on how disappointing he's been so far this season, his playing time. But Iman Alguazil has been certainly feeling the pressure and not performing at the same level. So that's been very disappointing. I think my biggest interest now is probably in Victoria Plzen under 2.25. But I do lean into the home underdog getting a half of a goal as well. And I just realized I forgot to tweet out that I was recording this. So I guess thank you, whoever found it. I appreciate that, who's already been on here. But it's a late night with a real_G1 faux pas, I guess, especially with only 2 matches to go. Probably not worth it to go through and put it out there now. Or, maybe I might as well do that because hopefully some of you can get the last few seconds and maybe that'll be worth it for everyone, possibly. Who knows? Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be. Let's see if I can make sure I can get this tweeted and then come back right all to you ASAP. Where the heck did that thing go? Oh, man. Well, this is exactly how we all want it to go, I'm sure, for everyone. We did record the NFL podcast tonight as I just opened that window by accident. Oh, my God. None of this is working at all. Great. Okay, so I did find it. It is in the wrong section, but let's get into this now. And then hopefully all of you can join for the last 4 seconds of this episode, I guess, as I knock my monitor or my microphone into my lap. Okay, yeah, I guess it sees a live picture of me, so that's nice. So maybe this is working. So might as well get through the last few matches now that everyone knows we're live for just a couple more seconds. Rigas Futbol Scola from Latvia, I want to say. They're hosting Anderlecht, one of the darlings of Europa League so far in this competition. They beat Real Sociedad. They were able to win against a double red card, or at least single red carded. I think it was only 1 red card, but against Ludogorets, and have honestly been perfect, I think, so far in this competition. Definitely against the spread. But especially, I think, even a perfect points total. Anderlecht are a 3/4 goal favorite on the road at Rigas Futbol Scola, or RFS for short. Richard Football Sam Soccer, I guess I could have said. Over under here is 2 3/4, just a little bit more to under. I'm not sure that I'm got much I want to do here. I don't believe in Anderlecht performing. They were able to kind of goat Ludogorets into a red card. I didn't think that was super fair, and I think that was another example of really disappointing officiating, but I guess there we are. It happens. I think I guess probably biggest interest for me is RFS under 2 3/4, just because I don't really believe Anderlecht will continue to score at this rate, but maybe they will. It's hard to have a ton of faith in a club I definitely don't follow, but Rigas Futbol Scola have been competitive so far. We'll see if they continue that on this match day 4 of the Europa League. Last but not least, we got Manchester United, a 1 3/4 goal favorite to PAOK. Over under is 3 1/4. And a little bit more juice to under here, a little bit slightly more juice on the Manchester United side. So we know that Ruben Amorim has taken over for Manchester United, the big goal scoring thriller on the road, or excuse me, at home for Leicester City was not something that they were able to keep up under Ruud van Nistelrooy. It does seem like he will still be in charge of this matchup, maybe play a little bit more aggressively, but really I think PAOK will determine how this one goes. Bad start for PAOK from Thessaloniki in Greece. And a lot of pressure was put on, or said to be put on, the manager heading into that 2-0 deficit until the ill-timed Victoria Plzen red card. PAOK were able to get a goal in the 85th or so minute, and they were able to equalize 90+3. Huge for their confidence, huge for them in this competition, because being pointless going through 3 match days would have put them really behind the 8 ball and trying to advance in this competition. Now they go to the Theater of Dreams, so no big deal here, except Manchester United have been really struggling to score goals. To me, I think it's really hard to avoid Manchester United unders until they show some sort of ability to finish. It's incredible how many chances they miss. Yes, they found a bunch against Leicester City, but Leicester have been conceding against everyone so far this season. PAOK are a little bit different animal and are going to have to try to find a way to defend a much more talented Manchester United club that they're not really built to protect against. So for that reason, I think I'm less interested in the 1 3/4 goals. So certainly see no reason why this doesn't head to 2 before kickoff in the late window on Thursday, but also lean to under 3 1/4 in that matchup, because I think there's a good chance we see more struggles for Manchester United in scoring goals. And I see no reason to really get off that theory. So that brings us now, especially if you just saw the tweet, to the end of the live stream on YouTube at the real_G Warner. There will be a 1 minute episode, which is what I cut or 1 minute short on YouTube, plus a 1-minute Instagram reel at the real_G Warner on both those platforms, where you can get my, 24 minutes and 40 seconds all summarized into a very quick little slideshow with maybe some music, maybe some imagery behind it, some movie type quality, and that way you can see what I'm doing for this episode, and hopefully you can find something to grade me from. Other than that, the NFL podcast with A_Schnicker on Betting the Pitch, we recorded tonight. We're 11-7 so far this season, above 60%. I'll certainly take that. There will be a college basketball, the Need for Seeds college basketball episode, now courtesy or presented by pregame.com, that likely will be recorded tomorrow at Big East Bend. We have a college football episode out on pregame as well at Big East Bend, and I are 11 weeks into the season. I'm 6-4, 60% so far this year. So trying to keep that positive trajectory going for the rest of the college football season. But it's time for the ultimate best bet. So let's get into it. Hey, this is a real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are 9-3-1 in our ultimate best bet so far this season. What I do is I basically smash together two of my favorite bets from each gambling episode I do on the soccer world. This one is on the Europa League. I did one from the early window, one from the late. So from the early window, like Tottenham Hotspur, a quarter goal underdog. And from the late, like PAOK of Thessaloniki on the road at Manchester United, a 3.25 under there. Tottenham are very, very special, clearly very talented, and have a much easier time in this Europa League competition than they will in the Premier League. But they are going to a pretty tough venue in Galatasaray, whereas Manchester United just haven't been able to score goals the entire season. So for that reason, I'm going for my best bet in this episode at the real_G Warner, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Go check me out on all those platforms. I'm going to go with the PAOK Manchester United under 3.25 goals. Just don't see Manchester United changing. A broken team doesn't seem to score goals in this entire competition. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in with Late Night with the real_G Warner. I feel like I'm getting a little sick right now, unfortunately, but we'll see how that goes. Get a good night's sleep, everyone. Good luck, and we'll win some money on the Europa League tomorrow.
Recording stopped.